Welcome. It's Zurika from Living an Amazing Life. In today's episode, we aim to break down the ethical hacks used in the book Principles by Ray Dalio. In a LinkedIn post that I read, Ray mentioned that to have the best life, we need both enough money to pay for what we need and work that fulfills us. Now, to get these things, we need to give others what they want through our work and our actions. That's just the way reality works. That is, we get paid for giving others what they want, which gives us the money to get what we want. Now, the biggest puzzle of life is to figure out how to do this well. And this is a quest all of us go through in life, through our career, our business, that we need to solve. The more we give others what they want, the more we will be able to get what we want. And if we don't solve this puzzle, then as we go about life, we will be forced to choose between, first, earning enough money to pay our bills by settling for work that we may not necessarily enjoy, or second, doing work that we enjoy, but maybe that work does not generate enough money to pay for what we need. Now, reading through his book has been insightful, and though I have aimed to summarize in the best possible way, I don't think I have done justice in 20 minutes that he has aimed to write in around 600 pages. I suggest that you take the time to buy the book and each day to go through some of his teachings. The goal of why Ray Dalio wrote this book has been to document his learnings for generations to come, even though he may not be on this planet someday. Now, before we dive into the hacks, if you're new to this podcast, then every episode on Living an Amazing Life aims at breaking down ethical hacks used by world-class billionaires, entrepreneurs, scientists, doctors, Olympic athletes to reach their highest potential. We cover this as micro lessons distilled in 20 to 30 minutes that you can embrace and implement in your own life to be a high performer. Ray Dalio is a billionaire and the founder of one of the world's biggest hedge fund firms in America. He mentions that there are two barriers that stop us in our career and life to make good decisions. The first barrier is our ego, and the second is not knowing our blind spots. Now, these two barriers stop us to see what is our true reality and to make better decisions. In the book Principles, Ray mentions that in life, we all follow principles. We have principles for the type of food that we indulge with. Maybe it's vegan, keto, oil-free cooking, junk food. Or we have principles of how we function as a family. And we have principles on who we would like to associate with. You get the point. Now, one of the key principles that Ray Dalio followed was in order for him to be motivated, he needed to do work for what he wanted to do, not for what people wanted of him. So here are the hacks, according to Ray Dalio, to be successful. Hack 1. Learn to be an independent thinker. Ray mentions that we need to train ourselves to be independent thinkers. While being an independent thinker, it is also vital to recognize that we cannot always be right. But through making independent decisions, we will find our own principles that we can live by. Hack 2. Learning how to deal with our physical and emotional pains. This is the fundamental law that nature teaches us. To be strong, we must be able to withstand pain in order to gain strength. Now, if we have debt, then we must accept this reality and work out a plan where we can come out of it. It may cause us huge pain, but at the same time, it forces us to learn how to face this challenge. While on this journey, he mentions that we will discover our mistakes, our weaknesses. This can cause us a lot of pain, but remember, this pain is just psychological. Use this pain as a cue that there is an opportunity in this pain. It's like a puzzle that needs to be solved to move forward in the game of life. Ray Dalio defines pain plus reflection equals progress. He personally uses meditation as a medicine to help him manage his psychological and physical state. Hack 3. Facing reality and accepting the truth. In Ray's words, people who confuse what they wish were true with what is really true creates distorted pictures of reality that make it impossible for them to make the best choices. Here is an example to relate to this decision. Let's say if you're in a toxic, abusive relationship, but you comfort yourself that you have to put up with it, with this pattern, because you need the income support. Over time, you begin to accept this reality as your truth. You start making stories to live in that situation. You start believing that it is difficult to make money and this treatment is better than having nothing to live on. So it's really important that we face the truth and we face reality and its consequences. Hack 4. Appearance in the eyes of society. Ray mentions that people who worry about looking good typically hide what they don't know and hide their weaknesses. So they never learn how to properly handle their weaknesses and never overcome challenges that need to be addressed. An example, in business, you see a lot of solo entrepreneurs spending money on advertising just to buy more likes, more subscribers, more followers, to show others how popular and famous they are. This weakens cash flow. The ability to work on true business goals is not the focus anymore. In fact, the focus has shifted to something that will not make them wealthy. Hack 5. Considering consequences for the decisions we make short term and the impact this has in the mid and long term. Now, every decision we make has multiple consequence levels. For example, maybe our desire is to have a lean body. The first decision we need to make is to eat healthy and do some exercise. But most often, we avoid this as the pain to exercise could be greater than the desire we have to have a lean body. End result is we stay in the loop of dissatisfaction. Ray Dalio mentions that when we focus on the initial consequence and fail to see the mid-term and the long-term results, this can cause a lot of painful, bad decisions. Now, I shall give you an example in my own life. I always want to be wealthy and have freedom of time and money. For this, I had to first start learning to be financially intelligent. But this requires understanding finance, and it would overwhelm me to read financial books. So what would I do instead? I would read fluff in marketing, how to advertise, email marketing, watch motivational movies, and read about technology. The immediate result was I felt satisfied that I was doing something with my time. But what I did not realize is that the mid to long-term pain that I suffered due to this one decision was detrimental to my financial future. Due to this decision, I would not make smart choices with my money and thereby was stuck in a constant loop of working hard, making money, receiving my paycheck, spending the money, and then working hard again. it makes you stick to a dysfunctional loop. Instead, by contrast, people who choose what they really want and get over the pains that the initial decision may present are more likely to have a successful life. I had just finished university when Marie Folio started her online venture via videos. She was consistent and kept going every day to focus on her business in spite of all the hurdles she may have had to face. Today, her life is completely different to many other entrepreneurs who started around the same time as she did and gave up along the way. She withstood the pain. Today, her life is different financially. While instant gratification may make life easier, it doesn't necessarily make life better or your business grow or the well-being of your family in the long term. So make sure that you use this hack in the most practical way. Consider the consequences for the decisions we make short term and the impact that it has in the mid and long term. Hack 6. Hold yourself accountable. Successful people take responsibility for their actions and successfully deliver with whatever challenges they face. They deal with their challenges. Unfortunately, for many of us, we are in the habit to let ourselves off the hook by pointing the finger at something else or someone else. It starts with small trivial things, but these same habits then creep into bigger things that we need to handle in our work, business, and personal life. As Ray puts it, mistakes are okay. Not correcting them is not. Hack 7. Systemise your decision making. Ray is a big believer that to run a successful business and to have a successful life, it's important to have a system in place where you document everything. He is big on documenting all decision-making criteria, such that any other person in his business or even a computer program could make those decisions for him. Personally, before I started on this journey, I would do things randomly. But lately, for the past 3 years, I've been working with setting up systems and refining systems in my life. And this has completely changed how I look at life and also in my work. I have a routine instead of just having random goals. In the past, I have done a 20-minute audio summary of the book by Scott Adams, How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big. Please do listen to that audio because he breaks down the steps of having important systems rather than focusing on just goals. Every successful entrepreneur speaks about setting up systems, and I am really thrilled that Ray too has had a system to build one of the world's most successful hedge funds. That speaks volumes, and that tells us the importance of having systems. You can keep this simple, but at least write down the decision criteria that you take each month to run your business. Hack 8. Keep a log of your decisions. Writing down your rationale for certain decisions you make will help you later to review the process that was put in place. This will improve your process of reflecting on past decisions and can help you to refine your future decision making. Learning from past decisions and reflecting both on the good and the bad will be key to your future business success. If you get the time, do listen to the 20-minute audio summary of Essentialism by Greg McKeown. He mentions the art of being a journalist and an editor of your life. I have documented why this step is so crucial in entrepreneurship. You don't need complicated programs or spreadsheets. Keep it simple. You could use anything like a simple Word document Or if you want to be a little bit fancy, you could use a Trello board or Evernote to document your process and to keep a log that you can review. Now, once we understand the hacks, then it's time to take action. Ray Dalio speaks about the following action steps that we must put in place to have a different, fulfilling financial life. His first recommendation is savings. Think about your savings and how much you have right now and how much you can put aside each month. The way to think through this is to figure out how much do I absolutely need to spend each month to keep afloat? How much money do I have saved? And how many months am I going to be okay without touching my savings? This brings about an appreciation for the habit of savings. Savings equals freedom plus security. Now, when you're in debt and you are tempted to borrow, make sure you ask yourself these two key questions. Is this debt that I'm borrowing going to increase my debt? Or second, is this debt that I'm borrowing going to produce an income? Sometimes debt, according to Ray Dalio, is good, such as buying a house, buying an apartment, buying an asset. It helps us to get into the habit of forced savings. If you decide to borrow for your business, it's vital to figure out if this borrowing is going to help you produce more and make more money, or is it a feel-good effect that you hope will generate a return? If you use debt for consumption, such as moving into a better office space, providing fancy snacks and drinks for people who work in your business, fancy furniture, gifts for clients, etc., this may all look like essentials. But when the going gets tough, the key question to really reflect on is whether these spending habits will bring about a positive return for your business to stay in business. His second recommendation is learning to invest. Each time you save, ask yourself, where can I put my savings into? Here you got to realize that the least risky investment that you think you should put your savings in, which is like just having cash at hand by just keeping it into a savings account, could be the worst investment that you do over a period of time. The way to see this is the following. Say your savings is going to give you a 2% return by having it in a savings account. Remember, you have to pay tax on this return of investment, plus there is the rate of inflation that needs to be taken into account. So in summary, you won't be making much or anything for that matter to increase the savings. What Ray Dalio recommends is that you have to have money that you save into assets that generate a return. Asset generating systems that are going to do better over a period of time. He mentions to keep cash at hand for the basics, that is to cover you for 6 months, and the rest of your savings to diversify wisely while keeping your debt low. The third recommendation is doing the opposite of the masses. Do the opposite of what your instincts are. It's important to do the opposite of what everyone else is telling you to do, as the market reflects what the crowd is hoping to achieve. He advises entrepreneurs, investors to buy assets or invest when no one is wanting to buy, and you want to sell when no one wants to sell. I mean, this is really hard when you have a setback financially and emotionally. And probably you're not going to feel like playing the game. It is scary. But as an entrepreneur, we have to rebuild our business and believe we will grow. Once you have the core foundation in place by understanding the hacks and the recommendations, the final step in the process is Ray's 5-step process. If you follow these 5 steps, there is no way you will not be successful. You will succeed if you follow these 5 steps. So let me break it down. Step 1 is goals. Have a clear and well-defined vision. Don't confuse goals with desires. Never rule out a goal because you think it's unattainable. Knowing how to deal with your setbacks is as important as knowing how to have a goal that will move you forward. Step 2, problems. Identify problems and then don't tolerate these problems. This is a crucial step in business. When you can view painful problems as potential improvements or opportunities. Be very specific in identifying your problem and what you are willing to do to fix this. Have a criteria in place to differentiate between a massive problem from a big problem and a small problem. And finally, once you have identified a problem, do not tolerate it. The step 3 in the process is analyze problems to get to the root cause. Once you've identified a problem, get at the root causes. Don't jump to solutions first. It can be tempting. Trust me, I always try to find a solution before breaking down the problem. Now, too many entrepreneurs, and I am one of them, jump to solutions immediately after they identify a problem. It's important to write down the problem and break it down. Sometimes it may take you more than an hour. So give yourself time. Step 4 is design plans that will get you around these problems and mistakes. Think of your plan as a movie script that helps you visualize who are the actors in this movie. It can be computer programs, it could be algorithms, or specific people that could help you solve this problem. Write down the plan so you can measure your progress and tweak where required. And finally, the last step in the process is to push through completion. The last step, of course, is execution. You may be a great planner, but if you don't execute, you are going nowhere. People who execute well are good organizers. They have a to-do list and they prioritize to get the main items done. Establish clear metrics. You need to make sure that you're on track to hit your targets. So there you have it. That's what Ray Dalio shares in his book, Principles. So let's summarize everything so that you have an action plan. First, always believe in yourself and be an independent thinker. Second, learn to deal with emotional pain when times are tough. Third, face reality and accept the truth. Fourth, don't do things to appear good in the eyes of society. Fifth, don't get into the trap of avoiding the initial pain which could have an impact for the mid and long term for your decisions. Sixth, hold yourself accountable and stop pointing the finger or blaming something or someone else. 7, systemize your decision-making process. 8, keep a log of your decisions. 9, always build the habit of saving. 10, once you have built up at least 6 months of savings, then use your savings to invest and diversify. 11, do the opposite of what everyone else is telling you to do. 12, have a clear and well-defined vision for what you want to achieve. 13, identify and do not tolerate problems. 14, design plans that will get you around these problems and mistakes. And 15, push through completion. Now, if you've enjoyed today's episode, then could you please do me a favor and would you be kind enough to leave a review on iTunes or Google Podcast? It would help me. Also, please do share this piece of work with someone who can benefit from Ray Dalio's teachings. If you find my work valuable, then do subscribe to our podcast either on iTunes or Google Podcast. The podcast is called Living an Amazing Life. Just search for it as one word. We are also on YouTube. Again, the channel is called Living an Amazing Life. And if you search on YouTube, just search Living an Amazing Life, all one word. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and you create principles in your own life. Thank you so much, and I look forward to spending time with you in our next episode. See you soon. Ciao for now. Take care.